Welcome back to another video. It's Aiden from Bespoke Coachworks here. In this video we're going to be doing the bead line for the quarter panel as well as welding on the lower quarter. So like you saw in the door skin video, we have our tape of what our proposed bead line is going to be, and we need to make a 90-degree angle, which is going to be our guide, our offset guide to install the bead line. So just in the shrink and stretcher, going back and forth to the car, trying to put yourself, in a ballpark, small adjustments, trying to, you want to try and get most of the shape, what you sort of think in your head, walk back, make adjustments, check it on the car, things like that. You don't want to, you do so much walking back and forth between the car and the shrinker and stretcher that you got to try and it's a good exercise to try and get your mind to sort of understand the shape that you're going to be working towards, so you're not doing as many trips back and forth. Otherwise you're going to be doing a lot of steps. So right here I'm just putting down the 18mm tape line. Like I explained once again in the door skin video, is that I use an 18mm tape line as my offset, and that means when I'm setting up my tooling, I set up my tooling with if it's going to be offset tooling, I set it up with an 18mm tape in mind. Reason for 18mm tape is because instead of say using like 20mm or something like that, is that the 18mm is a typical measurement that you get from tape. So most tapes are like, I think 20, you might get one that's maybe 24. I just find the 18 is good because it can take corners a little bit nicer without wanting to scrumple up and things like that. So yeah, you can obviously set an offset at whatever you want. I just like to use the tape because it's repeatable. If you had set your tooling up and say it was 20mm, but you don't have anything repeatable that you can use for 20mm, you're going to go back and forth, measuring to try and get that, and it's not as accurate as what you're doing with something that's manufactured and it's repeatable. The variation that you get over your tape thickness is so minute that you basically can't even measure it. So I like to rely on the quality of like the high production manufacturing that tape manufacturers do to allow me to get repeated results. Another thing I like about the tape is that you can sort of skip out a process, because when you are designing, say, something like this Rolls body, the bead line, the bead work that I'm putting into the side of the car, it didn't exist. So I'm able to put my tape down exactly how I want the bead to look, and then just start pulling an offset straight off that. I just find it just skips out a process, than trying to put it all out, then mark it out, things like that. So yeah, so with this bead also too, I tried to do something a little bit different. You can see it's got that sort of fatter portion up the front, and then it goes skinny over the back. Because over the back it's where that big reverse curve panel is, I thought it'd look a little bit funny to have a sort of a bigger shape, like tapering all the way down. So I wanted to do something a little bit different here, which is I'm using shapes that you do commonly see in the past on Rolls Royce cars, but I just wanted to change it up a little bit by making it, really start to taper down before the wheel arch. Just something a little bit different, but I really liked the outcome. So I think it's just a real sort of point of difference when you look at this car, and it will be when it gets compared to other Rolls Royces, through history. It's just gonna have that little bit of a standout where it's not the same as everything else. And yeah, I just think it's it was a cool way to yeah, do a bit of a point of difference. Also, I was able to use the top of the bead line for this particular instance, and that's going to be the break into the top of the boat tail. So, yeah. So you can see here, got the guide all cleccoed on, ready to go. So now I can remove the tape and then start to run the bead. So this would be the second pass. The video must have played up on the first pass, but the first pass would have just been sort of an intermediate sort of depth, and now we're going through the full depth. This is all in real time. This part here, just so you can see the sort of speed that we're moving at. You don't want to move too fast, otherwise you'll get really jittery, a lot of hammer marks. So just moving in at as constant pace as I possibly can. Was a bit of a funny one to run through because the panel has such a twist in it, especially as it comes through this area here. And then as well as the tapered bead and the sharp turn, just made it interesting to try and run, but it came out great. So I'm using plastic dies for the aluminium. It's just like a white sort of nylon material. This reciprocating hammer has like a spring in it, so it takes out sort of any load that goes through the machine. So like if you have a pull max or something along those lines where they're solid, um, they're really great machines, but if you have any sort of contact on them, you're going to start wearing out all your mechanisms. This machine, because it's got the spring, you're able to actually have full contact in the machine, and the spring sort of takes up that little bit of load. So there we go, we've got the bead installed. Take off the fence and we'll be able to show how it came out. It's hard to tell, but I actually the taper of the bead as it goes from the thick section up to the smooth up to the thinner section towards the back. I tried to make that line up with the highlight, sort of line up with the highlight lines of that lower reverse. So just when you're standing back, it just allows it to, everything seamlessly flow together. So moving on to just tack welding the lower quarter on. You can see I've only got 2 clamps on there. Try not to overly clamp things. I find if you're putting heaps of clamps in there to try and get something welded, you're probably not ready to be welding it. You want to be able to just have enough just to sort of hold it where it's not going to fall onto the ground, and you just get it nice and clamped in one position, get your first weld on, and then you can remove that first clamp, and then you've just got the one clamp at the back just to stop the panel from falling over and cracking your welds. Just moving through, plenishing as you go if you need to. after you got the panel fully tacked, it's a good chance to go through and, make sure you're happy. Like you can see, I'm not hammering where the weld is there, but there was a small area just on the top side of it that I wasn't completely happy with, like a couple of, like the way the light was reflecting. So it's a chance to go in and, fix any of those areas before you send it all home. If you were to weld and you had, say some low spots or something like that, they can be exaggerated with the final welding as everything pulls and shrinks. So it's always a good opportunity to go in and sort of fix anything that you weren't happy with, especially if it's going to be directly sort of, close to the area. So now that all plenished, I can go through and wire brush, making sure it's all clean. Cleaning with acetone. And same to the front. You can see that it's giving it that matte finish. If you are wire brushing and it's becoming shiny, it's telling you that you have oils and things like that on the material or in your brush. So good to go and clean your brush, sharpen your brush, things like that. You want to make sure that it's giving it a matte surface, not a shiny one. And now just going off and finishing the whole weld. So just answering a question that I've had in the past. Here that I'm using is 5005, and I'm just using a 5000 series with pure wire. I can't think of the exact numbers. I think it might be like 5032 or something along those lines. But it's just a standard sort of 5000 series pure wire. In Australia, we don't have the access to lots of variations of aluminium. You see people that will use the pure aluminium, 3000 series, 5000 series. Over here in Australia, 5000 is the most common. You can get 3000 in some cases, but it's difficult. After a bit of research, 5000, 3000, there's not a lot of variation between the two, so I went with 5000. Apparently it's a little bit better wearing, like in terms of the doozy, it doesn't dent the doozy, so they do a better material, and I think from memory it's like 97% the same as 3000 series, so not a lot of difference in the material. Having found an issue shaping, this is the second body I've done now in the 5000 series, and I've had no issues, so I'm happy with it. Welding up the pepper holes there. The fence is great, that's the only issue with it is obviously those drill holes. You can sort of try and do it with clamps, but if you have a clamp let go, you'd rather it don't move and have your body line sort of go all over the place. I'd much rather just be able to board up a couple of extra holes. It's not that big of an issue. holes fixed up there. Now just moving on to the power hammer to finish out the weld. Once again, I don't always do it by using the machines, though if I do have them there available, being in a shop situation, it's always, you know, more beneficial to try and do it because of the speed. So um, typically I will do a lot with hammer and dolly, but when a panel's like this and you're still able to, you know, move it around and get it in and out of the tools, it always just makes it a little bit easier. And I was able to planish this weld out in just a few minutes, where it would have taken a lot longer if I'd done it by hand. So yeah, that's the, I guess, the beauty of being in a workshop and having, you know, the machinery at hand. You're able to use them to your advantage and sort of speed the process up. So only a short video today, um, sort of showing things that we've done in the last sort of 2 weeks, with the like the last two videos. So I didn't, you know, make it too long. Just thought I would just continue to show the process of the build. But yeah, because you guys have already seen so much of these particular things that I've done with the welding and the installing the bead, I just thought I'd keep the video a little bit shorter. So yeah, so as always, guys, thank you. Continue to share and subscribe and like and all that sort of thing. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll continue to put out more. So yeah, there's the finished product. And we'll see you again on the next video. Cheers.